A new front line this morning in the battle over abortion access.
And the bill has finally passed.
Louisiana lawmakers moving forward with a plan to put 2 abortion drugs in the same category as so-called controlled dangerous substances like depressants and stimulants, criminalizing the possession of mifepristone and misoprostol used to induce abortions for anyone without a prescription.
When overutilized, this drug can be incredibly harmful.
The state of Louisiana has one of the strictest bans on abortion in the country. And now Louisiana is a step closer to literally criminalizing the possession of pills that are used for medication abortions. And those medications, of course, are mifepristone and misoprostol. Now, Louisiana is one of the more extreme states when it comes to dismantling reproductive rights, having banned all abortions with no exceptions for rape or incest. In fact, they went even further than that. Lawmakers recently turned down proposed exceptions for literal teenagers under the age of 17 who become pregnant through rape or rape through incest. Okay, the only exception is for the life of the mother. But Republicans in the state felt that they had even more work on their hands. Okay, they weren't draconian enough, and so they decided to reclassify the abortion pills, those 2 drugs that are often used for medication abortion, as controlled substances. And it passed in the Louisiana state 64-29 just last night. So despite the fact that the drugs are incredibly safe and they're also not addictive, you might be wondering, why would I need to state that abortion drugs are not addictive? Well, you'll understand as I give you more details about this bill that just passed in the Louisiana House. If SB 276 is signed into law as expected by Governor Jeff Landry, a Republican, Louisiana would become the first state in the country to include mifepristone and misoprostol in the same category as opioids, depressants, and other drugs that can be highly addictive. So in other words, these drugs don't belong in that schedule at all. But let me continue. The bill would make it a felony, punishable with up to 5 years in prison and fines of up to $5,000 for anyone found in possession of the drugs without a valid prescription. And there would be even higher penalties, by the way, if the person is believed to be giving the pills out improperly. Now, if Louisiana or in Louisiana, the distribution and possession with the intent to distribute Schedule 4 drugs carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison and fines of up to $15,000. And by the way, the legislation specifies that pregnant people who obtain the medications for their own consumption would not be subject for prosecution or to prosecution, which I get why they're doing that. It's not politically advantageous to prosecute desperate pregnant women who are seeking abortion, but maybe spare a thought or two for why any woman would feel desperate to end a pregnancy. Now, the bill is likely intended to thwart efforts by abortion proponents and providers in states where like abortion is legal, and they sometimes will mail pills to pregnant people in states where it's more difficult to obtain the drugs, and also to stop women who try to order the drugs to have on hand. And the measure was initially intended to target people who give pregnant women the pills without her consent. So State Senator Thomas Presley, who's the sponsor of the Senate bill, has a very unique personal reason for focusing on this. Let's take a look.
State Senator Thomas Presley's sister. He says his sister was given abortion drugs without her knowledge, without her consent when she was pregnant. And she ended up giving birth early to a child that had health complications, putting her health at risk, and her child's health at risk. This happened in a different state, and it was her ex-husband who did it, Hallie. And so he faced 180 days in prison and jail as a result. And so State Senator Thomas Presley said that that was simply not enough.
For me, that was unacceptable. I felt like it was not enough. It did not fit the crime of trying to kill his unborn baby, and doing so against his wife's knowledge, which also caused significant health problems for my sister.
Are these people, like, is there something wrong with their brains?
Yeah, lead.
Is he unable to differentiate between a woman who was slipped the abortion pill without her knowledge versus women who want to terminate a pregnancy and are seeking the drugs necessary to make that happen? Like, oh my God, go to therapy, bro. Instead of ruining other people's lives, go to therapy. Jesus Christ, man. I'm so sick of this garbage, and I'm so sick of our government not really working for us, right? When it comes to matters where government makes sense and people need help, they're nowhere to be found. But when it comes to controlling the most intimate personal decisions of our lives, healthcare related decisions, they want to get involved based on their own personal trauma or trauma that was felt by members of their family. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, go ahead, John.
Don't even give him that much credit. That's not why he's doing it.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
It's really grotesque that you would take this personal tragedy that a family member of yours had and use that as the excuse to strip people's rights away. That's really grotesque. He's a monster, they're monsters. That's why people think they're monsters. It's really gross. The ex-husband did something reprehensible, so doctors should spend a decade in prison for having these drugs. That's what you think should happen? Okay, look, they're obviously they're not coming for abortion. They've come for abortion, and it's outlawed in a significant portion of the country. They're coming for medication abortion. They're coming for IVF, and they're coming for surrogacy, and they're coming for no-fault divorce, and they're coming for access to contraceptives. They literally, the governor of Virginia vetoed a bill to guarantee access to birth control. This is not just extreme. There is nothing on the Democratic side, the left, whatever, that is similar to this in any way. No matter what you think Dems are most radical on, wanting to take away guns or dealing with climate change or DEI, there's nothing on the left where they are challenging so many long-held rights that people have had. And this is the reason that people are gonna make such a big deal out of this in the election.
Right.
Because it is relatively easy and I think important to ask people, do you want to live in a country where gradually throughout your life you have fewer and fewer rights? Is that the world you want? Is that the world you want to bring your kids into? And there's some people who hate themselves and what this country is and what it stands for that would say yes to that, but I don't think it's a majority. And that's why I think it's gonna be a big part of the election.
So obviously Democrats are infuriated about this. That's pretty much common sense, but I want you to hear from the medical community. So let's go to graphic 6 because medical professionals are sounding the alarm. For instance, on Monday, the Louisiana Society of Addiction Medicine sent a letter to House Speaker Philip DeVilliers that called the bill legislative overreach. The group said it goes against the spirit of the drug scheduling system, which is designed to classify substances based upon their danger, potential for misuse, and medical benefit. Now, classifying drugs as controlled substances typically means that they're addictive, which these pills clearly are not. People aren't popping abortion pills for recreational purposes. Jennifer Avegno, who is the director of the New Orleans Health Department, says that misoprostol is not an addictive drug used to get high. It has a lot of important uses given to prevent women from bleeding out after childbirth. In response to that, Presley tried to rebut the criticisms from hundreds of medical professionals by saying, if enacted, this legislation would not prohibit misoprostol or even mifepristone from being prescribed or dispensed for legitimate reasons. The doctors I have consulted with feel this provision will not harm healthcare for women. But when you're talking about serious criminal punishments for individuals caught with possession of these drugs, that leads to a chilling effect, as we have seen in other states. So for instance, in other states like Texas, where they have made exceptions for the life of the mother, as we've seen from highly publicized cases, if the woman's life is in danger and she goes before judges to get her abortion approved, it's up to the judges to make that decision. And in the case of Texas, they decided against allowing a woman whose future fertility was on the line over a non-viable fetus. They refused to allow her to get an abortion. And she had to travel out of state to do it. So this is like playing with people's lives in a very real way. And they're doing so based on totally fake narratives about, oh, this insane prevalence of like late term abortions and afterbirth abortions, which is murder and doesn't happen. It's just, and people are gonna get hurt. And so when they get upset, when the Republican Party gets upset at Democrats doing what they should do and have been doing, pointing to these types of laws in their campaigning, well, maybe they should reconsider why that's such effective campaigning. It's because the majority of Americans want to have their reproductive rights intact, okay? There might be some states that want to have additional restrictions, but these outright abortion bans go way too far. And I do think that the standard set by Roe v. Wade was the correct standard, and that has now been dismantled.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.